Hello, everyone, and welcome to Master Tape Theater. We are the world's first and only video podcast dedicated to the preservation and history of live audience recordings. And I am your host, the one-man crime spree, the world champion of videos, and the man that's causing all of this, Roy Goddamn. And I am, of course, joined by my esteemed colleague, the Duke of Danzig, the Alpha Romeo, Eric the Ladies Fight for His Delight Lawton. Eric, how are you doing this week, my man?
I'm doing okay.
Well, it has been another exciting week here at Master Tape Network. We're going to be, I'm going to be addressing something right now. So last week on the show, we were joined by Chris, and Chris shared a story with us, an epic tale of rock and roll that, quite frankly, just seemed unbelievable at the time. And another viewer who had been contacting me about Eric and Pierre in Canada, he had told me that that Chris was an eccentric character. So I guess I went into the interview with a little bit of doubt in my mind to begin with. So when Chris told me that story, I pretty much was like, huh? So it just kept amping up, one step, the next step, the next step. But so actually, right as we started filming the show this week, Chris reached out to me by telephone, and we actually had him come in, and I want to tell everybody this right here, right now. Chris sent me a picture wearing Dio's clothes, dude. So I was forced to take a second and go, you've got to be shitting me here. So we asked him to come on and clarify things, and we're going to go to that interview right now. This is me and Eric and Chris live from France, recorded just a few moments ago. Here we go. So yeah, man, I mean, right now, I want to do a full show with you all about your career, and I would love for you to tell us more stories and all of that. But right now, what I really want to do, this is the most important thing that I think we need to do today.
Yeah,
I feel that we need to clarify every bit of what you said last time versus what we were being told by this other person. So I just got done reading your email. So you're catching me fresh. So I just read your email and I saw the pictures of what you sent to us. And right now, you're saying that you can verify the entire story and everything that you told us. And I'm going to tell everybody right here, right now, that I did see pictures of you. I know it's you with Motley Crue, and you in fact sent us a photo of you wearing Dio's clothes. So I have to say right now that if I've said anything improper about you and your story, that right now, if I said anything demonstrably untrue, that I will take it back right now, because you did send me a picture of you with Dio wearing clothes that you say are from Dio. But I know that me and Eric...
Which I found completely unbelievable, because I know that, I'm a huge Ronnie James Dio fan, and I know the guy is like 5'1". Yeah. So, you got to be a relatively short
5'7"
person.
Yes,
you're 5'7".
What he gave me is some sort of, first I had a T-shirt. Under that, I'm wearing a T-shirt, just a Ronnie James Dio T-shirt, meaning a tour shirt. And he gave me this kind of, I don't know, it looked like a 3/4 little vest that looks, I don't know, so it looks like women's clothes to me. And it was pretty, I don't know, just...
So,
right. Well, it was the times and all that too.
I was just gonna say, Eric, he's almost the exact same height as Dio. I
didn't get to see that. I haven't got to see
I will flash some pictures up and black out his face so that nobody knows who he is. But I will show the pictures on the show this week, and you'll see he's standing next to Dio wearing what he says is Dio.
No, not standing.
That's awesome.
I'm standing.
So hold on, I'm sorry to cut you off. I am 100% willing to eat crow, but we do have a few additional questions.
Another thing that I picked up, I don't know if, it was just a mistake, but you mentioned a Monsters of Rock tour.
Yeah,
and
it was.
To my knowledge, it was always the Monsters of Rock was always like a one-off thing they'd done at Donington.
It started as a one-off in Donington. You're right. You're absolutely right. But for the first time in 1984, so that year, they did an actual tour. They did it ended in Germany. They did Holland, in not many dates, just four more days.
Oh wow!
And in Europe, because so it was the first time that it became an actual tour. And then later on, they even in America they bought the rights to the name, and they did an American version of the tour. I think in '86 they started the American version of the tour. So that's what I meant. It was the first time that it was an actual tour in Europe.
Yeah, I remember that in America they did something with the the Van Hagar lineup or something like that,
yes,
right?
Like that. They used the name basically. They just bought the rights to the name because it was so successful in Europe. So everybody, it was talked about everywhere. And as far as my story with and for the last date of that tour in Nuremberg, so to clarify, so it was between Karlsruhe and Nuremberg, and that I jumped on the bus with on Van Halen's bus instead of Motley Crue. So I was between Karlsruhe and Nuremberg the whole way between the two towns. And you know, that's when I was on the bus. So it wasn't just a short ride; it was actually pretty long.
So this thing with David Lee Roth dropping the Japanese women out in the cold, that was on this, like on the way to Nuremberg?
On the way to Nuremberg, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Between Karlsruhe and Nuremberg.
So, you know, man, I want to believe every word of your story, and I want to apologize for ever doubting you. But here's what I need from you, man.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and go through with this interview, but the last thing I need, I mean, dude, you have sent photo documented proof of you with these people. That is undeniable. But the one thing I would love to see from you is any stories, any kind of documentation that you did, journalist work with Motley Crue, any stories that you wrote, anything you can show us. If you show us that, man, I will 100% take back any job I've ever had.
Hold on. Well, the thing is, I will send it to you, but I don't want to show it on the show because then
I got you, man.
You know the name of the magazine because it'll be all over.
Absolutely. I just mean for me, we don't have to show anything on the show.
Yeah.
Just for me, so that I've got that.
I still have folders of all my old interviews. I still have audio of some of the interviews. All the Kiss interviews I still have on audio. I still have Bon Jovi, Metallica, I believe.
Well, man, I'm going to tell you right now, if you come through with proof like that, then I'm going to go back to the other dude in Canada and tell him, suck a fat bag of dicks.
Exactly.
You know, I 100%. I don't want to tear anyone apart, man. But I mean, this guy. I'm going to tell you, when we went into that interview, I want to tell you right now, just to make things clear from my side of the fence, that this other person had put into my head that everything you said was suspect. He gave me many examples of incidents and things that happened in Montreal, and I won't go into details. But I mean, he had a very bad opinion of you, and I got to be honest with you. He didn't make me want to believe you. So that when you told me that story, it blew my mind. It would blow anybody's mind. You're like, how could this?
It blew my mind.
You know? So I mean, you know, dude, like, believe me, if that story was true, the only thing I want from you right now is to keep coming on the show every week. Because you, I mean, that story right there was, I mean, dude, seriously, I've been chased by Kiss. I've been chased by the feds. I've done crazy shit myself, but I can tell you right now that I have never caught VD with Tommy Lee and with two broke-ass skates, man. That shit is epic level storytelling, and my hat's off to you. All I need to see is that last little bit of proof, and bro, I am on your team.
The reason why I can tell you this story in so much detail is because I lived it, simply. And you know, it seems to normal people, of course, it seems like, wow, you know, a fantasy world, rock and roll, and backstage, and meeting all these people.
I have been in the same position myself for years, dude. I try to tell people, Marilyn Manson bought me a car. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. So,
No.
I mean, but I can show you pictures of me with Marilyn Manson, me doing video work with him. So, I mean, I'm starting to believe your story, man.
I have documentation of everything. I have. I'll send it to you. I already sent you some photos. I sent you a list of some of the people that were there. You can probably, the easiest person you can contact to verify would be Claude Schnell, Ronnie Dio's keyboard.
Right.
He's
right.
not,
I know who he is.
He's less. So Claude, ask Claude. Every time he sees me, he goes, "Hey, need a haircut?"
Man, seriously, if you show me some stories, a couple of pictures of you with some passes, at this point, I'm already 90% sold.
I've got it all. I just sent you some pictures. I'll send you.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. I mean, I just, I really, I want to be wrong on this one. I want that story. I wanted that story to be true. Because when I heard the story, it blew me away. I was like,
you can verify with so many people that were there. I mean,
I'm sure you could see on the show that the look on my face was starting to change the more that you told the story. Because, like, you tell me I'm on a bus with David Lee Roth. So right away I'm like, really? And then, like, the second part of the story, you're like, and then I'm getting my dick sucked in a limo with Tommy Lee. So at that point, I'm just like, get the fuck out of here.
No, that was after Nuremberg. That was like a year later or something like that.
Huh?
The getting laid with Tommy Lee part was
a month later.
Not even a month.
It wasn't later. Exactly. 3 weeks later, on the same year, they just jumped straight from that Monsters of Rock tour to the Iron Maiden tour. So they were on touring all over France. So
Crew was actually opening up for Maiden.
Yep.
Which, I mean, that would only happen over there. That wouldn't happen here in the States.
Yeah,
that's what happened. It was their first year ever across the Atlantic. Motley Crue had never set foot in Europe. So
wow.
This was their very first tour. And the funny thing is, you remember the look they had. Tommy used to wear really tight pants, but he'd cut holes and showing his butt cheeks, right? So he's half naked basically when he goes on stage. And it's funny to see them in full makeup and fucking glory and at 11 a.m. in the bright sun, it's just weird. At the beginning of the festival, they were just the opening band, basically the very, very first band. And they just looked so, but people were really impressed because they thought that Motley Crue was kind of a, superficial, visual, silly band from LA. But when you saw them live, Tommy was such a good drummer, such a powerful drummer, that it gave them credibility musically. Because a lot of people thought they weren't very good musicians, but when you saw them live, they actually kicked your ass. And especially Tommy, who's a brilliant drummer.
Well, I like Mick Mars a little bit too.
Yeah, Mick was solid. And he was also one of my closest friends at the time, right? Because he was a bit more quiet, more reserved, and sometimes he needed a break from the craziness. So I'd hang out with Mick.
Well, it actually just so happens.
The picture I just sent you is of Mick Mars and I with the clothes that I'm wearing from Ronnie James Dio. That's the next day with Mick Mars. It's not the photo with Dio. The photo with Dio that I sent you is Dio and my ex-girlfriend. That must be maybe a year later in Montreal, a year later or two, something like that.
Crazy, man. It actually just so happens that this week's show is all about Motley Crue. We're doing we're doing an entire hour on Motley Crue and their history with Bootlegs. We're going to be doing a whole entire section about the '97 tour where Motley Crue became fans of Bootlegs for about a minute there. So that's actually what the show is going to be about this week, man. So it's cool that you got into this.
Very cool.
And I really, man, right now I am pretty sold on the story.
I'm pretty sold.
The picture I sent you of Karlsruhe, you can see Motley and I. And I'm replacing Tommy in the picture. His picture, Tommy actually had his pants down. He was just off camera.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, so you can see that picture. That was the night before. So in Karlsruhe, which is it's a bit of a military town. There's a military base, an American military base. So there were actually a lot of Americans there at that show.
Well, that's an amazing story, man.
Yeah.
Let's schedule you for next week, man. I mean, I'm pretty much right now ready to go back and beat ass on the other Canadian guy, dude. I'm gonna be like, hey.
It's normal. A lot of people are either jealous.
Bro, seriously, along the way. Hold on. Along the way, dude, I totally started fact checking like Motley Crue and Iron Maiden, because that even sounded a little hokey at first. I'm like, well, they just, I was like, what? So, but I checked that out, and sure as fuck, I found out that was true. So as we were progressing towards the show, I was like, maybe he's telling the truth, man. Me and Eric had a 20-minute conversation prior to recording the show that week. Yeah. Trying to decide if that story was completely true, man.
And a lot of things did in fact line up. You could just Wikipedia Monsters of Rock, and you got that lineup, and you got all those acts on the bill. Ozzy and Dio, which was the only fucking time Ozzy did anything with Dio, I believe, was even remotely near him. This is a photo of Ozzy with Dio from that era.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah.
All right, man. So
each other. Ronnie told me so many stories afterwards when I was in his bedroom. He was telling me about Ozzy would piss on his roadies while they're asleep. It's one of the pranks he would like to pull, or he would shave someone's head while they're asleep. And another time, he fired. Well, he didn't fire. Sorry, his bandmates, Rudy Sarzo and Tommy Aldridge, both left because they can't stand Ozzy anymore because he was such a dick. At some point, Ozzy, if I remember well, he locked his drummer in a porta potty and left him there for 20 minutes or something, and just really just
he locked Tommy Aldridge in the porta potty.
Yeah, and that's why Tommy Aldridge
is like 6'4" or some shit.
It's starting to sound more and more believable that he would just show up and try to shave Chris's head.
Well, yeah.
Because that's one of the kinds of pranks that he would love to pull on people. But that's why a lot of roadies do not want to work with him anymore, and that's why these two band members left, because he's such a dick.
Wow. Well, shit, dude. That's it, man. I'm calling it right now. Homeboy's telling the truth. It's over. I'm calling it right now. I'm going on the show. I'm so glad that you caught us. You literally called me the minute we started filming the show for this week's show. So I'm going to put this in the show this week. I'm going to clarify things. I'm going to clear the air. I'm going to take full responsibility for doubting you, and that's it, man. You have my full apology, and
no problem. I'll send you more of the stuff of the details.
Yeah, man. I really hope that you'll come back on the show and share more stories, because your love of bootlegs is what brought us together, and I hope that we can stay together through that love of bootlegs, man.
Yeah, it's a good start. When you're a true fan of the music, that's how it turns out, right? Everybody that I know who's seriously in music ends up collecting bootlegs as well, right? I mean, of Sebastian, obviously. Sebastian's from Toronto. It's just he used to be in a small band in Toronto, and they used to know him then. And he was a huge Kiss fan too, and we'd trade bootlegs. So yeah, it goes on and on. There's a link to bootlegs with anyone who's seriously into music. You can't go by. You can't avoid it, right?
Well, I'm just glad that we found each other and you didn't go to some other shitty podcast with your awesome stories, dude. Fucking, you come back to Master Tape Network, fuck all those other guys, and fucking we're gonna see you really soon, man. And I'm sorry that I doubted you, bro.
No problem.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for coming back. We'll see you soon, bro.
We'll see you soon.
Have a good one. All right, man, and there it is. That's you and me and Chris from just moments ago. Chris was here to set the record straight. I just want to go on record right now saying that if I ever at any time say anything demonstrably untrue about anyone or anything, that I am going to correct it here on the show. I went into last week's meeting with a little bit of doubt in my mind when I did the interview with Chris, so when he told the story, it just kept amping up, and, lo and behold, he sends me pictures and he has some proof. And, I'm just glad that we found him before somebody else did. And we're actually going to go as far as to have Chris on as much as possible. I may even do a cartoon where, we have him tell stories and, we like have a cartoon drawing to go along with it and stuff, because that was an incredible story. But, he did, in fact, send us proof and documentation to back up everything that he said. So, Chris, 100% correct. In Canada, not so sure about your stories, man. But so anyway, right now, we're going to go ahead and get into this week's show. And, Eric, I have a riddle for you, dude. What does episode 6 of Master Tape Theater and Nikki SIXX have in common, dude?
They're both all about Motley Crue.
You son of a bitch. He ruined my joke because I already told it to him. But anyway, so this week's show is all about Motley Crue. We're going to be doing a spotlight on Motley Crue. Motley Crue is one of those bands that really just had more interactions with Bootleg than your average band. There are a lot of taper-friendly bands. Dave Matthews Band, Black Crowes, things like that. But Motley...
Whoa.
Yeah, Motley Crue is one of those bands that has just touched the history of bootlegs and vice versa. Bootlegs have been good to Motley Crue, and Motley Crue have been good to bootlegs. So, you go all the way back to, say, Motley Crue live in Quebec, which we talk about pretty much every show we've done. We've mentioned that show, but
legendary show.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite parts of that show it was Vince when he's all, let me see your tits. And my other favorite part is when he says, let's get a little bit of pussy. And he totally pronounces pussy. So, like, as a joke for the last 20 years, me and my wife have been running around the house going, let me see your pussy. But anyway, so that's a look into my world. But so
I don't know if I can catch that note.
Yeah,
over here. That must taking some practice, man.
But yeah. So basically, Motley Crue. Yeah, dude, it sounds like the guy is like a cat getting stepped on. That is not the way to describe Vince Neil from like 82 to like 90. Vince sounds like a cat getting stepped on. By 90, he kind of developed a little bit of more range, and I don't know. That's just my opinion, man. But anyway, so
it's all that whiskey. It defines. It loosens up the vocals a little bit,
Something happened, man. He definitely had a change in his vocal stylings between 83 and 90 for sure. So right now, what I want to do is I want to focus in on when Motley Crue became big fans of bootlegs. So in 1997, Motley Crue actually did a press conference. It was for the release of Generation Swine. The band had just gotten back together, and they were really pushing for the world to know that the bad boys of rock and roll were back, Motley Crue. So they get together and they have a press conference for a radio station in Minneapolis. And basically, Nikki goes out and says, we've never been good with gatekeepers and people that tell us what to do. And we're going to really make this a different experience. We don't care about corporate rock and roll. We're going to allow all the fans and encourage all the fans to come out and bootleg the shows. They actually used the word bootleg, and they said that, they wanted fans to bring out video cameras and recorders. And, they were going to encourage everyone to go ahead and bootleg the show.
The other thing we want to talk about is we've always had a problem with gatekeepers and such, and one of those is that bootlegging's never been endorsed by artists to any great extent. Grateful Dead has been one of the only artists. There's been a few artists recently that have, but it's, again, they've been being gatekeepers. They've been saying, well, we'll let 30 of you come in and video the show, or if you pay an extra $100 a ticket, we'll let you bootleg the show. We've decided to let anybody and everybody that comes to our show bring video cameras, tape recorders.
All right.
Thought you'd like that. Thought you'd like that. We got a lot of input on the live listening parties that people were looking for a live album. Obviously, we're out to promote Generation Swine right now, and the fact that we haven't been together on tour in 5-6 years. So you kind of make your own live album right now until we get around to doing something like that.
There's no special section. It's just everybody from the very top row to right in the front. So everybody's welcome. Did you talk about the flashes?
No.
Okay, yeah. The only thing that we're asking, if you're filming or taking pictures, is no flashes or like the big giant lights, on your video cameras. But other than that, exactly.
One of those.
Other than that, man, just
you can bring the camera, just not the light.
So yeah, right there you see, he's like, we're going to let everybody videotape. And, honestly, in my opinion, now, a lot of people haven't analyzed the 1997 tour to the depths that I have for this week's show. But when I did all of my investigative research on the show, one thing I've come to the conclusion on, Eric, is that I believe that Motley Crue was trying to stage chaos by allowing these bootlegs to happen. It wasn't just a cool thing for Motley Crue to do. I mean, it's cool for us, the fans, because I'll never forget when that happened. It was, oh my God, I get to go out and film Motley Crue like a pro and do a cool job. And, so basically what I interpret from that and what I've done all of the investigating for the show was that, they wanted to have controlled chaos, because I pretty much look at the 97 tour at this point as just the let's start some shit tour and catch it on video to get local publicity from newspapers or any kind of paparazzis or anything. Because you can remember back then, 97, that was right around the time of the sex tape for Pam and Tommy. So TMZ and tabloid type things were just in their infancy then, and lots of paparazzi stuff. And, so they knew that cameras creates chaos creates publicity creates cash, and a successful tour. I mean, I think that's pretty much what they were going for here.
I mean, I don't know if that album was a huge hit that they were releasing at the same time either.
No, I mean, Generation Swine, I remember it vividly. It really was not met with a lot of fanfare. I mean, sure, the fans were excited that Motley Crue was back together, but it didn't sell super well. I remember that when the tour first started selling, that tickets were selling somewhere around 50% of capacity out of the gate.
Wow.
So promoters were not super excited about adding more dates. I mean, in fact, a lot of shows, they ended up making them half arenas. So you would go in with your video camera and you would literally be only, half the distance from the stage that you expected to be, because the stage was literally in the middle of the arena with a giant black curtain pretty much blocking out the back. And, but anyway, so Motley Crue, I think, wanted to create these moments that happen, because on this tour, there were 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 incidents where they just tried to start some shit, man. I mean, they were like, let's we know everybody's out there with the video cameras. We're either going to start some fights with some fans, start some fights with some security. We're going to try to put the fear of God into, all of these little towns, because one of my favorite parts of the whole tour has to be when they went to Kansas City in the year 1997. And when you watch the news report, you would have thought it was fucking 1987, dude.
More than 12,000 people are packed into the Kansas Coliseum at this hour listening to Motley Crue, the heavy metal rock band that sparked a community controversy. One of our Cake Live units is at the Coliseum right now, and that's where Cake's Mike Taylor is standing by live. Mike, how's the concert going? What can you tell us?
Rose, it is crowded, it is hot, and it is very loud. It is also the place to be for many, many Wichita rock and roll fans this evening. The show is a sellout. In fact, earlier, people were offering up to $50 for a ticket to get inside the doors. Motley Crue is about halfway through their part of the concert, and the crowd loves it. Motley Crue fans started lining up at the Coliseum 2 hours before the doors opened. After seeing the group nearly banned, there was a feeling of victory over the fact that the concert would go on.
God looks at you, and he doesn't love you any less than he loved Abraham.
But Motley Crue is not without its critics. They were here also, along with others who had a different message.
And if God so loved us, I say that we ought to love one another.
On one side, you have the religious community attempting to use a smokescreen of obscenity, etc., to infringe on people's rights to see rock. On the other side, you have people like me and the Federation for Rockers' Rights, who are making sure people have the right to see what they want to see when they want to see it.
With all that going on in the front, the crew quietly drove up and slipped into the back door. A few parents dropped off their kids, but decided to wait in a special parents' waiting room.
I feel confident of my son's judgment, and we're going to be here later, so they do know that we're here for them.
Now, with 12,000 people packed into the Coliseum, there are bound to be some problems, and there have been. With me now is Sheriff Mike Hill to talk about that. You've got a lot of officers out here. What kind of problems have you seen tonight?
We've had 2 cases of assault of a law enforcement officer. These figures are as of 9/15. 20 cases of violation of liquor laws, possession by a minor, 3 disorderly conducts. We've had some simple assaults, a few narcotics violations, 1 highway robbery, and several heat exhaustions.
Do you feel like the enforcement that you're doing tonight, having extra officers, extra security, is getting the job done? There had been some talk by some critics of this concert that perhaps laws would not be enforced the way they should be.
Mr. Peckham made that statement earlier that we were not doing our job. I assure you, Mike, if we have probable cause to believe that an individual has violated state statute, we will take the appropriate action. And it does upset me when an individual makes those accusations.
So you're thinking tonight that things are going pretty well overall?
It's going as what we expected, and we'll reevaluate what we did tonight, and if there's something that we need to change, we'll change it in future operations. Thank you, Sheriff Hill. Rose, that's the way it stands right now. The concert continues.
Okay, thank you very much. Mike Taylor reporting live from the Kansas Coliseum.
The spectators. One man took advantage of the crowd as an opportunity to preach the Bible.
If God loved us enough to die for us, I think we ought to love God enough to live for him.
For the most part, the crowd was respectful, but a few chose to jeer. The doors opened just before 7 o'clock, and the show started at 8. County commissioners and the Federation for Decency are monitoring the concert. They'll be looking for people who are drinking or getting out of control, and they're also there to pass judgment on the band and see if they think Motley Crue really is a bad influence for youth. Motley Crue's road manager doesn't think so.
I guess you always worry about the people who's going to judge not only Motley Crue, but whether Wichita should have rock shows here at all, which is more important than Motley Crue playing. Because if the kids of Wichita can't see shows, then no bands will come in and really become a boring place.
Okay, you got a glimpse of Motley Crue there. They are on the stage now. We weren't allowed to take our cameras in there tonight, but they went on stage at about 9:20. Now, an interesting thing is going on at this concert that they haven't done before. We have a parents' room. It's called a parents' quiet room is what they're calling it, and this is for people who either, for one reason or another, wanted to accompany their children to the concert tonight. Most of the people that we talk to aren't here so much because they are concerned for the welfare or safety of their children, but they're here because they're from out of town. And they brought the kids in for the concert, and this just gives them a nice little place to relax. And it's nice and quiet in there, and they have KKRD radio station is hosting that, and they've got some beverages with them and everything, so they think that's a pretty good deal that might catch on. With me now is District Attorney Clark Owens. And Clark, you have been out here all night long monitoring the concert, walking around up and down. What do you think so far?
Well, it's about what I expected from hearing reports from prior concerts. It is an unusually large crowd that they have here tonight, but I don't think there's been any more problems than what they've had with some of the prior concerts.
Okay, so you don't feel that there's any real need for concern at this point?
Well, I think there is some legitimate concern about alcohol violations among some of the young kids in there, but it's a relatively small percentage that we're seeing. Overall, the crowd's well controlled, and any problems that they have, I think, are on just a very small scale.
Okay, well, that's good news. You're pleased with what you're seeing out here, and it's being regulated and mandated pretty well.
I think the Sheriff's Department's doing a very good job, as well as the private security, in maintaining order out here, and that's the primary thing, is make sure and keep the safety.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. Go back in there now and enjoy the rest of the concert.
Thank you.
All right. Susan, I am going to turn it back over to you now. This is Julie Becker reporting live from the Motley Crue concert at the Kansas Coliseum.
Okay, thank you very much, Julie.
I mean, dude, I was fucking spellbound by the clothes that they're wearing, the hairstyles. I mean, they were literally 10 years behind the time. So in Kansas City, when Motley Crue showed up, that shit was still scary, man. I mean, they got my favorite had to be Bill Bush, Rights for Rockers.
That guy had a bitchin' mullet, and he had the same fucking hearing that I had in the junior high school, the same hairstyle and everything. It was amazing. But it was '97. It wasn't the '80s. If you look at the newscasters, everybody, it's like a time warp or something.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite part was they had positioned the crippled preacher guy who hated heavy metal. They positioned him up on top of the arena with a bullhorn, and he's just like, Jesus doesn't want you to see this. Only Jesus can rock you. Like, he's saying all this crazy shit, and then he's got all the Rights for Rockers people down in the bottom. They're all, hey, fuck you, man. We love Motley Crue. And then the part where the sheriff is like, we had 12 incidents with underage drinking, and they set up a special room for the parents and shit. Like, I mean, it was literally like it was 1987, and Motley Crue
was really weird.
Yeah, it was a weird incident, man. So you had
the pastor was just surreal with his Christopher Reeve with the wheelchair look.
I wonder if he fell off of a horse or something. But so basically, so they go to Kansas City, and they're still able to get that chaos happening. And then you had an incident in Uniondale, New York. About the third or fourth song, Vince starts having words with one of the guys in the crowd, and he's like, fuck you, man. I can only imagine the guys in the audience like, you suck or something. So, then about an hour into the show, about an hour and 15 minutes into the show, you can clearly see Vince like, hey, fuck you, come up here, I'll kick your ass. And then, then SIXX gets involved, starts spitting on the guy. And, dude, he just dives into the audience, fist first, starts pummeling the dude. They pull him back up on stage. I mean, again, this goes back to, I think it was, we'll do some out-of-court settlements. We'll rile up the local Christians and the news sources to make them think we're coming.
It could have been staged.
Yeah, I mean, it could have. It totally could have. I mean,
the guy in the audience could have been one of the crew members.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I mean, it seemed like they had an awful lot of, fights and altercations with the security. And Vince, Vince would always start some shit. And then Tommy would get involved. I mean, they were all just like looking to start a rumble and shit, dude. I mean, the whole time they're just like, let's just start some shit with anyone. So, I mean, you had the incident in Uniondale. That was kind of unexciting. He jumps in the crowd, pummels the guy for a second. They pull him back up on stage and just keep going. Then you've got like what happened in North Carolina, which was the nigga show. So that was the racial incident where, Nikki SIXX, like, I guess he interprets that the local security is roughing up some of their fans, and, he calls him a nigger, and he spits on him, and it's on the news, and he gets arrested, just the whole 9 yards, man.
We're not doing any more songs. You know why? Because this security assholes in the front are punching you motherfuckers, and you guys deserve better than that. It's a bunch of fucking shit, man! Fuck you, asshole! Right there, bring the lights up, this big fucking asshole! You know what, motherfucker? You're a big fucking black man! You feel pretty good beating up a little girl! Fuck you! Fuck you!
exclusive report we first brought you last night. We told you how members of the rock group Motley Crue used racial slurs on stage during their Greensboro concert this week. The comments were directed at a local security guard. After our broadcast, we were bombarded with calls from audience members who told us there is more to the story. So tonight, our cover story continues with Chris Runge. Chris?
Sharon, last night we introduced you to a woman who went to Tuesday's concert. She said at least twice band members from Motley Crue called a security guard the N-word. The guard's employer said he was spat on and had a drink thrown on him. But now several callers tell us there was, in their words, a reason for what happened. They say the guard was out of control, badgering the band, and that he punched a man who tried to climb on stage. My question to each of the callers was, does that justify the use of the N-word?
I don't think it warranted him being called that name, but the guy, Nicky SIXX, the bass player for Motley Crue, he said on the mic after he called him that, he reiterated it. He said, I'm not calling you that because of the color of your skin, I'm calling you that because that's how you were raised.
But that name solicits racism. It is about the color of someone's skin.
Well, yeah, I mean, generally it is. I mean, but I've seen white people called that. I've seen Puerto Ricans called that. It's not because of, I don't think it's because of the color of his skin. I don't think that's why he called him that.
The guard works for Show Pros out of Charlotte. They said today they will make no further comment pending legal action against Motley Crue. Sharon?
Chris, has the band responded to all of this?
No. Calls to their publicist and their agency handling their tour yielded only no comment. Now, Greensboro Coliseum officials did tell me they in no way condone the remarks and they find the incident deplorable. We'll have more on the story tonight at 11.
All right, we'll see you.
So you've got the fight in Uniondale where, Tommy gets in the fight. Next thing you know, you've got, I guess a few nights prior to that, they actually were in Pittsburgh. And in Pittsburgh, the DJ that they had like an opening band and a DJ. They were trying to make like a different kind of concert experience. And, the DJ guy like slips a porn on to the giant screen up behind him. And, there's like there's some chick blowing a guy and fucking herself with dildos and shit. And so some parents bring their kids to the show in Pittsburgh and they go to the local DA and the authorities and like, we want to bring charges against Motley Crue for showing porn to children. I mean, they were just any and every kind of chaotic event that they could create. They were trying to create, man. And then you have, there's other incidents. Let's see. The Arizona thing has to be the craziest. So in Arizona, during Tommy Lee's part of the show where he comes out and he has a camera and he's like running around, let me see them titties, girls. And he's like, hey, girls, show me them titties. And all the girls are whipping their tits out. So at some point, he sees a security guy like, maybe 50 yards away from the stage, and he just calls the guy out, and you see him, he's like, hey, motherfucker, you suck, you're the worst security guard on earth, and you're not treating these fans with respect, and, so then the guy, I actually have a weird story. It happened in Phoenix. So I actually was at a show in Phoenix myself filming Green Day. And a riot erupted before the show started in Phoenix. And I'll never forget it. They were throwing trash and everything's going crazy. And it was right hot on the heels of the 94 appearance on Woodstock where all the mud was being thrown. So the fans were feeling really like, we got to recreate that chaos. And so anyway, they're throwing trash at all of the people in the venue security. And so, dude, seriously, the entire staff of security, like you could just feel the energy in the room, like the whole crowd was going to have a riot and go down on the security guys. So the whole entire security staff just left the venue. Like they're instructed to just leave the venue if they're being threatened by anyone in the audience, just leave. So
it's not worth getting killed over $8 an hour, I guess.
Exactly. So I guess that's what happened. So that's what happened with me at the Green Day show. So I was already kind of aware of this. And when you watch this clip, you'll see he calls the guy out and he says, you know, you're the worst security guy on earth and you suck and everything. And then there's these two guys in front of him that are like, fuck you. And they look like skinheads or something. It's really weird.
They totally look like Nazi skinheads.
And so, you know, so dude, that security guy just leaves the venue like the walk of shame. And he leaves the venue and the crowd's like, you know, fuck you, you know, Motley Crue. And so then you flash forward to the end of the show and, you know, Nikki gets on. He's like, you know, hey man, we want everybody to fucking, you know, have fun and rip the fucking place apart, you know? So, you know, we wish everybody could get up on stage with us. And then, dude, so like, after he does that, the bombs and the pyros start going off on the show, and a fan like jumps up and almost gets his ass blown off, and then chaos just kind of ensues. So more people get up on the stage, and then just it erupts into like 11 or 12 minutes of goddamn chaos. It's crazy, man.
What's up down there, man? What happened? You guys, security guys, being cool and you're being dicks. What's up, man? What happened down there? That's fucked up. What happened down there? Oh, man. I hate that shit, man. Why can't everyone just be cool? Fuck. Hey, grab that guy with the headphones on. Hey, Mr. Security Man. Right here, bro. Turn around. Hey, come on. Hey. Get the fuck away from those guys, man. Let them have a good time. Jesus Christ. God damn, man. Just fucking chill out and leave my friends alone. Shit. I hate when people fucking do that shit. Hey, man.
So that's pretty much what happens in Phoenix, Arizona. The crowd jumps up on stage. It was on the news. Nikki and Tommy are arrested for trying to incite a riot. I mean, that was incredible, dude, where they were like still playing and there's like 300, 500, 600. I couldn't believe that the stage didn't fucking collapse, dude. I mean, that was...
They kept it going for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I thought...
With everybody up there.
I really thought that the stage was going to collapse under the weight of all of those people. It was a kind of a chaotic, truly awesome situation. Again, caught by bootleggers. I mean, set up by Motley Crue for it to happen. But thankfully, you know, our boys were there. They filmed the shit out of that show. I mean, you know, we have perfect quality from the master footage we're showing on the show here this week. I mean, incredible footage of that incident was captured. Another thing that was cool that happened during the news reports for that was, you know, local filmers were being, they were selling their footage to the news, because when the incident would happen, they would be like, you know, hey man, you know, I was there filming, and so guys are calling the news. So all of this stuff is indeed making it to the newscasts and stuff, because not only did they get arrested for trying to incite a riot, then you flash forward to the Las Vegas show. More fucking chaos. So here they are in Las Vegas in 97. You know, the crowd's getting up on stage. Things are really crazy. Some fan jumps up and runs over and tries to steal Mick's hat. And he like knocks over old man Mick, and he like bashes his head, and they all Tommy jumps up from behind the kit, and he comes out trying to kick the guy's ass. There's Nikki there. Everybody's ready to beat his ass. Vince Neil's there. Security guys drag him off. Then a few more people come up on stage. Chaos ensues. The house lights come on. I mean, it's friggin' nuts, man. I mean, and then funny, kind of weird, another tie-in story where my world of Motley Crue and stuff kind of comes together. Basically, I got in the one time I was ever in any kind of legal trouble was I got into a verbal altercation with a local promoter here in Las Vegas for one of my shows, and the person said I never agreed to pay the band this much, and I kind of told him to give me the money or I was gonna like kick his ass or whatever. So they end up, you know. So anyway, I get arrested for assault with a deadly weapon, because this person says that I went after them with a gun, which is totally untrue because I didn't own any guns. Just out of his ass makes up this charge. The police show up, they arrest me, and friend of mine who knows Nikki SIXX's lawyer, who got Nikki off for inciting a riot here in Vegas and for inciting the riot in Phoenix, he hired the same lawyer that I had, and you know, he got Nikki off. He wasn't so lucky with me, man. I had to plea out on the deal and say that I said some mean things to the person. So, you know, but anyway, just another weird incident though. But you know, you have that thing in, you know, in Vegas where they, you know, another damn near riot captured by fans, shown on the news. You know, really amazing stuff. In fact, another cool part about that was that was supposed to be the last show at the Aladdin. They were going to demolish the building. So Motley Crue, when they went into that show, they were like, we're going to start some real shit, right? You know, let's get the whole place to riot, tear the place apart and everything. So during the show, the incident with Mick was just happenstance. Like some guy just tried to take Mick's hat. It was just, you know, chaos. And so what, you know, but basically they, you know, during the part with Mick, the crowd's beating on the place, throwing chairs, like, and it turns out that Motley Crue went into that show thinking that they did, you know, if they destroy the venue, it wouldn't matter. So they tore up everything. They tore up their dressing room. I mean, like, just, they fucked that place up. The crowd tore seats up, pounded the place, broke lights. Turns out that they were tearing down every single bit of the complex except for the venue, and it was going to remain there. So Motley Crue gets hit with like $20,000 in damages. Compound that with the $15,000 in damages that they got hit with in Phoenix. They settled out of court with the guy in Charlotte. I mean, just this was the craziest goddamn tour in the history of Motley Crue, man. I mean, so then flash forward to towards the end of the tour. I actually went and filmed Motley Crue. It was my big time. They were coming to San Francisco. It was December of 1997. You know, there had been a lot of videos, some good, some bad. But I went in there with a full arsenal, a tripod, microphones. Like, I was ready to tear the place apart, you know. And so I filmed the show. And I actually was friends with one of the road crew guys from Motley Crue, so I give him a copy of the video to give to to give to Tommy and Nikki. And one of the funny things was he took the videotape back to Tommy and Nikki says they put it on and they were watching it. They're like, "This is great, man. Fans are out there filming this shit, bro. This is so cool." And they put it on and they watch it for about 10 minutes and they're like, "You know, man, I don't think this was what we had in mind when we said these guys could film and stuff, bro. Like, you know, this is really fucking like too goddamn good. This looks like professionally filmed." So, you know, I mean, I showed them what giving permission could actually turn out to do to them. But, so then that's actually kind of an even weirder thing. They had a deal with each guy in the band signed an agreement that if anybody was caught doing drugs or drinking on the tour, that they had to pay $25,000. So it just so happens that night that I filmed the show in San Francisco, Vince goes out and gets shit-faced at a titty bar. And so then fucking...
No way.
Yeah, totally true story.
Really?
Man.
Vince?
Yeah, Vince. Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe Vince would go out and get drunk on tour and see some titties. Because think about it. In 1997, you've got Motley Crue. They're out there saying, "We're the bad boys of rock and roll, but we don't drink liquor. We don't bang whores anymore."
They were all married at the time, right?
Yeah, they're all married. Like, it was just like
Pamela Anderson.
Again, to me, this
A-list models.
This whole thing was just manufactured chaos. But this is a true story that happened. So I filmed the show. I give them the tape. They get to see it. But that night, Vince goes out and gets shit-faced at a titty bar. So you know, what a nice guy. The limo driver rats out Vince Neil that Vince went to the titty bar and tells Nikki. So SIXX calls up Vince and he's like, you know, "You better pay your fucking 25 grand, motherfucker." And, you know, and he's like, "Hey, fuck you, man. I'm not having fun anymore. This sucks. We're not bad boys. We're a bunch of pussies and shit." So, dude, the next day, fucking Tommy and Mick hold back the road crew because Nikki and fucking Vince get into an actual fist fight, like old school style, and they're holding back the road crew. And I mean, it's like a scene out of goddamn They Live, like where he's like, "Put on the fucking glasses," and they're punching each other in the face. He's like, "Pay the fucking 25 grand, asshole! Pay the 25 grand!" And Tommy and fucking Mick are holding the road crew back. They finally break them up. And I mean, Vince straight quits that day right after that show. That was almost the end of the Motley Crue reunion. But they canceled their show in like Iowa or some bullshit like that. And then I guess SIXX and the manager got together and got Vince in a room and convinced him to, you know, to keep going. They were sorry, or I'm not sure how they worked it out, but you know, that's just another crazy story of
he only had to pay $10,000 towards
maybe he gave him a half
titty
price
bar clause.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I can't even imagine being in a Bad Boys of Rock and Roll band when you're not really the Bad Boys of Rock and Roll anymore. But, you know,
I mean, it seems like that's what they were trying to prove continuously in the year 1997 is that they were still the Bad Boys.
It was a chaotic year. They caught a lot of stuff, man. So then, you know, they did some other touring in beginnings of 98 into 99. So turns out that the guy who I gave the tape to, the guy from Motley's road crew, he hooked me up with SIXX and Tommy because they were like, that video was awesome. And they actually gave me some really cool special, like a special pass to film from kind of like a VIP loft or like a, you know, like a loft that wasn't for sale to the public. And I brought in another guy and we shot a great 2-cam from 99 in Seattle. It's one of the best. But I did that for the band. And so, they had a love affair with Bootlegs. And I haven't seen or spoke to, Tommy Lee or Nikki SIXX really since that day. I just met them. They told me the video was great. I said, thanks for watching it. And that was pretty much the extent of it. But turns out, I've been a lifelong fan of Nikki SIXX, man. I mean, he's like probably my man crush. I hate to admit it, dude. I mean, like, if I was gonna fuck one guy, it'd probably be Nikki SIXX, dude. The guy is just too cool. Like, I love his name, his stage presence. Like, he's the coolest dude in the history of rock, man. And
the little stripes.
Yes, yeah, I'm serious, dude. I have always loved Nikki SIXX, so it kind of tore me apart. I've got a couple of other cool Nikki SIXX stories here. We're about to wrap up the show, but one of the things that I want to find out, if I ever get a chance to see Nikki again, or if anybody knows Nikki, let's ask him. In the year 2011, in Fredericksburg, Maryland, I believe, after they've allowed all these films and praised Bootlegs, Nikki sees a fan in the audience filming, dude, and he just jumps into the audience and starts beating the shit out of the fan. And then, and even more of a whodunit head scratcher, after the show, they asked Tommy about like what happened during the incident. And he's like, we just had to take care of business, man. Like, just, fuck bootleggers and shit. So I'm just like, what the fuck? I mean, Bootlegs have saved you guys from so much. So I'm a little confused on that. I'd like to maybe get to the bottom of that someday.
I mean, it's kind of weird that they would have that kind of attitude at that late year in 2011, I mean?
Yeah, I mean, really, when you think about it, Bootlegs stopped being hard to film in the year about 2005. 2004, 2005 is when YouTube started coming up. People started filming more. People had more phones. Everybody had a camera in their pocket. I mean,
Right.
Things just changed. It flipped everything. So to be upset about Bootlegs in the year 2011 is a bit confusing to me, man. So if anybody out there knows Nikki SIXX, they want to ask him, what the fuck were you thinking? Hit us up, give us an answer. We'd love to know. I got two other small things about 1987. Let's
Yeah, what about the master tape there?
Yeah, so let me tell everybody the story of Motley Crue, Buckeye Lake, Ohio, 1987. Motley Crue, Nikki SIXX in particular, bought a video camera in the year 1987, and he was going to have all the shows filmed from like the sound booth. And I know for a fact that he had filmed a few shows leading up to this, and I guess they filmed a ton of them. But a friend of mine from Boston knew a DJ in the area of Ohio, and the show was coming, and they did an interview with Nikki backstage, and he actually mentions to the DJ, oh man, I got a video camera. We're like videotaping the whole show because, this was early, like 87. That was pretty early to have a video camera. Only the wealthy and elite, like rock star types and, people that were professional photographers and shit like that could really even have access to video cameras at that point. It just wasn't something normal consumers bought every day, but he had a pretty nice video camera. And so as he's doing the interview, he's bragging to the guy, I've got all these VHS tapes over here from last night and the night before. So they filmed the show that night there in Buckeye Lake, Ohio, and dude, the DJ sneaks back into the dressing room and steals the videotape out of the camera. Like the roadie had come into the room and put the video camera with SIXX's stuff, and he steals the tape. So you flash forward many, many years later, my friend in Boston sent me that actual videotape from Nikki SIXX's bag. And, I've way long time ago, I transferred the master tape. So, it's been out there for years from the master tape from Nikki's bag in 1987. And that's the true story of how everybody got Buckeye Lake, Ohio, 1987, one of the few really good watchable girls audience shot shows. But that was filmed, minimal zooming, shot from the audience by, I guess, someone from the road crew that SIXX trusted to do it.
Dancing on glass, man. Dancing on Glass.
I mean, there's another cool thing, 87, that was my year, dude. I got to see Motley Crue for the first time. I saw them on the Girls tour with Guns N' Roses opening, which is just an unbelievable show. I was actually more excited about Guns N' Roses at the time.
I would be. I mean, did Guns N' Roses not blow them off the stage or what?
Dude, that show was fucking fire, man. I mean, that band was perfect. I mean, they were true. That to me, that 87 show was the true embodiment of reckless rock and roll. You had, SIXX hooked on heroin. You've got all the guys from, just total decadence of 1987. That was actually, as it turns out, I was the very first time I ever smoked weed, dude.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like barely 16. I had like a guy who was like a big brother to me. His name was John in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And he took me and my then guitar player for my first band, a band called Chaos, like total high school kid band, like played talent shows and shit. But, he took us to the show in Columbia. And I remember we had, shitty seats way up on the side, but, really great history with Motley Crue and Bootlegs, and me and Motley Crue and Bootlegs. Other cool things that I remember about 97. I mean, we're definitely going to wrap this up here soon, but, I remember Motley Crue coming out saying that Marilyn Manson was going to open for the Generation Swine tour. And then they actually came out and said that they were going to have Pantera open for them too. I mean, at the time, that would have been fucking huge, dude. But they, they ended up having Cheap Trick, which I'm a huge Cheap Trick fan. I'm not going to disparage Cheap Trick, and it's cool. There was a ton of bootlegs that came out on Cheap Trick because of Motley Crue allowing videos. It's just a great special time in history where bootlegs were still appreciated in a way. They were still considered dangerous, not like today on YouTube where everybody's allowed to film and you can literally watch every show that happened last night or even within minutes of it happening. People are live streaming daily on YouTube concerts. I mean, but back in the day, 87, 97, Motley Crue and bootlegs, it was a special time, dude. I'll never forget it. One of the other things that I really remember from the tour had to be the drum solo from Tommy Lee. They had actually had David fucking Copperfield. He had a company here in Las Vegas called Magic Craft at the time, and Vince was already heavily in bed with Vegas, and Vince is sort of a Vegas guy here in Vegas, and he went to,
in the places he's still allowed to go inside.
Yeah. I mean, he also does have a bad reputation, I will say. Vince has had a lot of failed business ventures in Vegas, but he never quit swinging from the plate, man. I mean, he's
swinging quite a bit from what I've seen.
Yeah, he's had several tattoo shops. He's had tattoo shops in casinos. He's had bars, nightclubs, titty bars. I mean, Vince is like Mr. Las Vegas, man. But anyway, in 97 at the time, he actually had David Copperfield's people put together a magic trick solo for Tommy to do. It was pretty awesome stuff, dude. So there's the big David Copperfield drum solo. I don't know, man. I thought the show was a little weird and self-indulgent. I mean,
I think it was absolutely ridiculous, to be honest with you.
Well, but I will say
it's like Michael Jackson, Man on the Moon, or some shit in his space suit.
But I do believe that that it did prove that anybody can be the spaceman. So I mean, the whole tour was just like, you know, plagued by weird little things. I mean, one of the things also a lot of people don't know, you know, Nikki SIXX in the year 1997 found out that he had a half brother who lives in San Jose. And he goes up to San Jose to meet the half brother, and the half brother tells him that his biological father, who abandoned Nikki when he was like 3 years old, had recently died. And you know, the half brother tells Nikki where it is, and you know, they go out there and they film, like, you know, footage of him standing at his dead father's grave in the rain. Like, it's all black and white and shit, like The Crow and shit. Like, you know, and then somehow he ties that shit into the show, right? Like, he wants to have a big emo moment, and he like smashes the guitar, and you see the footage of him at his dead father's grave, and bastard, you left me, you motherfucker, and like just weird self-indulgent shit that I honestly just didn't really, at the time, I didn't know why it was in the show, but now I know why he did the solo the way he did, because of the dead father thing. And you know,
it just doesn't make sense to me for Motley Crue to be doing stuff like that.
Maybe he thought that was like paying tribute in some weird aggro emo way. I don't know what the fuck was going on there, dude. Another cool moment that was actually captured by Joe in The King of Philly. Motley did a show at the Electric Factory that was like a warm-up show, like way before the tour and everything. They pretty much played the whole Generation Swine album, and on there they had a lead vocal by Nikki doing a song called Rocket Ship. And you know, I watched that footage and it totally reminds me of Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Picture Show, because SIXX comes out, it's all kind of acoustic, and you know, the part in Rocky Horror was like, I'm coming home, and he's like, you know, rubbing his eyes and the makeup's running down his face and shit. It's very emotional and sick, you know. But anyways, but that moment was captured, and we're really lucky to have that, because it's like, you know, one of the only
melodramatic.
Yeah, one of the only lead vocals by Nikki and shit, dude. But we got it, man. It was a really cool thing, and you know, it just reminded me of.
You gotta appreciate Vince a little bit more after seeing that one.
Yeah, fucking let me see a pussy. I want to thank everybody for joining us on this week's episode of Master Tape Theater and our Motley Crue Bootleg Spotlight Special. Next week, we're going to be joined by my biological brother. I think maybe he's my brother, Robert Eugene Dam. He was actually with me for many of my biggest Marilyn Manson tours, and he has a bunch of stories that I didn't even remember. So he's going to be on next week, and we're going to have a pretty funny show.
I know he's got some Danzig stories in there too.
Yeah, he does. We have a bunch of different stories. He was with me on the Motley Crue tours, the Danzig tours, the Marilyn Manson tours. He did a lot of different stuff with me, 95 through 98. But we also want to take this time to thank all of our Patreon subscribers. Not just all of our monthly subscribers, but our one-time donators. They're helping us achieve our goals of getting more equipment, bringing you more content, bringing you our own independent streaming APK, and bringing you as many as 10 new shows per week on the network in the coming year, Eric. Do you have anything you want to add and say to the people, my man?
Keep on rocking.
You got it. I'm Roy Goddamn. He's Eric Lawton, and we'll see you next week. It's party time, yeah! Be sure to like and subscribe on the channel. Also, support the work we do on Patreon, find us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter.